Welcome to Conscious Profits Unfiltered. This is your host, Sebastian Nam.
What's up, guys? Today's show is all about purpose-led branding and conscious businesses. It's about conscious brands, brand story, and how it all ties into profits in the world we live in today. I interviewed Luke Faccini, the founder of a branding agency called The Sponge, which specializes in helping the next generation of business owners rebrand with purpose. It will be easy to tell that he was born and raised in Sydney, Australia from his badass accent, and he now lives in Brisbane. Since starting his professional brand design journey in 1999, he has helped thousands of people put their brands on the map. He full-heartedly started The Sponge right out of college and has learned what it takes to grow a business. He experienced firsthand the impact that purpose and values have in business and the connection to brand story. Luke talks about having had a purpose moment that transformed his outlook on business. He is a firm believer that business can and should be a force for good, which is obviously, as you already probably know, so up my alley and something that drives my passion as well. So if anything that I said interests you, you should definitely check out this episode and share some laughs with us along the way too. We definitely laughed a little bit there. And by the way, if you've been enjoying and getting value out of the Conscious Profits Unfiltered podcast, please share with a homie, post it on your story and tag me. I will reshare that so hard. And please hit subscribe. Enjoy the show. All right, what's up, Luke? Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
You know, Luke Faccini è un nome molto italiano for an Australian. It's a very Italian name.
It is a very Italian name, and unfortunately, I can only speak English.
But at least you got a badass accent.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. For us, it's pretty commonplace.
Yeah, for us, it's a cool accent. You come to America and everybody's already like listening to you, like, oh my gosh, that's such a sexy accent and that whole thing, you know. So I got to give I want to tell my listeners how we met, actually, because it's pretty funny. So we followed each other on Instagram, and Luke slides into the DMs, you know, and he says something like, I feel like we really resonate with each other's, content or our missions or something like that. And I started looking at what you put out there, and I was like, wow, truly do. And then so some time passed, we followed each other's content, engaged a little bit. Then I was like, I kind of want to like have a beer with this guy, you know? And then he's in Australia. So I'm like, should we have a Zoom meeting and be friends? It's like, it's just funny, yes, man. Just such a 2021 way to meet somebody, I guess. But anyway, so here we are. And I thought it would be great to have you on the pod and talk to us about who you are and what you do. So I always like to start by asking my guest, Luke, when was your last oh shit moment? What is the first thing you think about when I said last oh shit moment? Good or bad, anything?
What's popping to mind is in October last year, I started this gratitude challenge, and it's been really good for me. It was get out of the funk of COVID and really take time to contemplate what's been awesome in the day. And not all days are awesome, but you can always contemplate, and that act of contemplation changes your state. So, those days where you're just grinding away and you get to the end, it's like, did I get anything like really amazing done?
Yeah. But
then the reflection changes everything and you find it. But that's not the oh shit moment. The oh shit moment is that I've got a vision board. I'm very big on visualization and meditation. Joe Dispenza's like, the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are, right? The oh shit was I kind of dropped out of the gratitude challenge to focus on creating content, which you've seen. That daily content is just it's time consuming. But,
yeah.
But I wanted to reflect on gratitude. So I got myself some little beads that every time I look down, I can just like feel the gratitude. And the shift was, the oh shit was that what I'd been doing was reflexive, like it was reflection. So it was living in the past. Whereas now it's like, be grateful, feel the gratitude, but put something from the vision board into that. I'm so grateful. Thank you for this. And that shift Like I've got a motorbike up on the vision board. I ride, that's my play. And I've been thinking about this particular bike for months. And then I shifted to thank you for this beautiful motorbike in my garage right now. And within a week, that bike is in my garage. And it's like better than the one that I've got on my vision board. So the oh shit was not the reflection gratitude, but the projection gratitude. Be that, feel that you have that. And it's so simple, but it's killer.
That's awesome, man. That's not that simple. I mean, it is simple, but for somebody to grasp the concept of being grateful for something that isn't there or you didn't have, and already feeling and embodying the gratitude now for something that's not there yet, because that's how the universe works and that's what it will provide. It's pretty woo-woo shit. And not necessarily people are going to grasp that, but it's beautiful and it freaking works. And that's sick that you got an even better motorbike and it came from that. That's an oh shit. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So there's a bunch of other things that the little reminder there is to feel it, because big plans.
That's great, man. I love it. I love that. Luke, what is unconscious business or non-purpose driven business? What is that?
Yeah, it's the Gordon Gekko, greed is good. Milton Friedman, the purpose of a company is to maximize shareholder returns. That's what it is. It's just that's separation from business and personal. There's nothing personal. It's just business. There's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's unsustainable. It's exhausting, and it's no longer enough.
Are most brands, do you think, the majority, 51% or more, still non-purpose led brands?
I would say yes, because the old guard is reluctant to change, and we've still got a lot of 60 plus old people at the helm. So the new generation feel it and seek it, and we're seeing CEOs come in, and then they've got to deal with the board, they've got to deal with the bureaucracy and transform these organizations. But there is a groundswell. I'd say we're not even close to if I had to guess, I'd say 10 to 15% of businesses are actively doing that, being a conscious business. But majority no.
Yeah, I wonder what it really is. I'm sure there's some sort of data out there that I'm going to nerd out on after this pod. But I really wonder what that is. And it really depends on where you are, I'm sure. I feel that places like Australia, places like New Zealand, I think that they're actually more forward thinking with this stuff even. And I think the US is starting to come around to it as well. I mean, at least when it comes to the CPG world, when you look at that, I do a lot of business with New Zealand. And there's just so many great Kiwi brands. And I think that so much of it has to do with the culture of respecting the land and that kind of whole thing. So maybe it's a little higher down there. But, and I know it's very different. I'm very aware that Australia and New Zealand are very, very different. The rest of the world, they're kind of oh, you guys are down there. You're all homies, very different. But in terms of the quality of brands that I'm seeing, I think that when it comes to at least consumables, maybe there's a little bit more consciousness.
Yeah, we can go deep on this. I mean, there is are you aware of spiral dynamics?
No.
Okay. It's the levels of consciousness. Spiral dynamics is just another map or model to put on what there is. And it's just a reflection of cultures and, communities. Or having needs met allows you then to ascend and become a servant leader, essentially, right? So the more that the community that we're in has those basic needs met, we're not fighting for survival, we're not in an ego state, so that that's the shift, right? And the reality is there are many countries, and even now, especially with COVID, there are so many countries, so many communities, so many cultures struggling that they're not even close to thinking about how you can be altruistic through business. They're just need enough money to pay my people to survive. So it's all about the cost, right? So it's a luxury until it becomes the way and people's expectation of what things should cost. We can't just go into Target or Kmart or Walmart or whatever it might be and buy something awesome for jack shit, right? Because our expectation is that shouldn't cost much. Well, in reality, the person making it, the people, the community that's providing it, the resource may not be replenishable. Therefore, the cost of it ought to be more. And until we've got that education that people appreciate the true cost of things, then we're going to keep going to Walmart or Aldi or whatever it might be and buying cheap stuff.
It's a very interesting concept about the spiral dynamics, what you were just saying too, because it makes so much sense in terms of having those needs met and then being able to then start to grasp the concept to evolve into that way of thinking versus if you don't have those needs met, man, I'm just trying to survive, you know?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So like, when you mentioned, you know, COVID and survival mode, when all of this first started, well, let's say March 2020, I remember doing some content, some videos, speaking to some brands, because I was having some of my clients come up to me and say, you know, what do we do? Right. So from a marketing standpoint, what do we communicate? What do we do? And it was just such a time of like, this is the toughest time that people are going through. This is exact opportunity for you to be and elevate and to be the most conscious you have been from a brand perspective, to lead with purpose now during the toughest times. People will remember that because people remember how they were treated during the toughest time. So if they're brands that they associate that, you've just created this connection that you can lose otherwise if you don't do it that way during times of need.
Yeah. I saw that too. People that were brands that were just maintaining the status quo, and you see these ads and you go, but where's the empathy? Where's your humanness, right? So how can you relate to me? And those that do relate, he's like, wow, okay, cool.
Totally.
There's humans behind this brand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was happening to me with like little things such as like, you know, the like yoga studio or the gym memberships or something. You could see some react in one way and just being like, screw you, too bad, whatever, screw everyone else involved, versus others like figuring out ways to gather the community, to still support, to still give you a service. Like it was pretty interesting to see how different brands how they responded. So Luke, you claim to have had a purpose moment. What is this purpose moment? Caused the shift in your life? But what was that like? Share that with us.
Yeah. So I started my agency because I enjoyed the party scene. So I thought, you have an agency and you make money, you do awesome design, you win awards, and you party like an animal. And that was what that was what things were like. So this is like 20 years ago I started this.
I'll be honest.
Yeah. So it was fun, I have to admit. I'm not going to lie. But it felt a bit like I was in a hamster wheel. So making money, buying expensive watches, clothes, you name it. It was a very capitalist, very shallow world for me. And until one Saturday morning, it was a December, so it was summer in Sydney, and I was in my villa by the bay, and I was just flicking through Netflix for something to watch, and I just hit play on this thing and it just looked watchable. Now, like I was saying, to this point, I hadn't really stopped to think about the true cost of things. Supply chain, for me, I was blissfully ignorant about that. And this documentary I hit play on was called The True Cost. And before it was done, I was done. I was like sitting there with tears streaming down my face. And what it was fast fashion revealed. So it showed the building collapses in Dhaka, showed the devastation of ecosystems because there's no processing of the dyes and the chemicals, and showed the disruption to local trade with the overwhelming goodwill shipments going to Haiti, for example, right? So it decimated their rag trade. So it's just like you see this ripple effect, and it's like, how is this happening? And when it comes down to it, it's the race to the bottom for cost. It's that separation, that ignorance and greed for maximizing shareholder return. So, I was sitting there, I was changed. Before I was done, I decided I could no longer work for brands that were about profit at all costs, which that was my purpose moment. And it set me about firing a whole bunch of clients, and I was very, very polarized. Only wanted to work with angels, which in 2015, there weren't as many as there are now. So was a bit like watching tumbleweeds roll by, trying to get these clients. So it was very challenging, but rebuilt the business, purpose-led, values-driven, and now we work exclusively with businesses that have a positive impact in the world. And I tell you what, it feels good to be that way and exclusively help people that are making change in the world.
I love that. There was a moment that I believe the universe tested you several times, I'm sure. Yeah. When you and I chatted, you touched on something, and I wanted to bring that up. That basically, when you were making this shift, after you had this purpose moment, you were tested with like a big contract. And so, what happened?
Yeah. Like, I'm a big believer of when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and the same goes for if you make a commitment, right? So you change your values, you change something about yourself. I believe the universe or God, whatever, goes, oh really? Yeah, let's see. So that was in my only want to work with angels, and then this opportunity came up to rebrand 11 brands for this large US organization, and it was
11 brands to rebrand.
11. It was to rebrand, or it was to refresh and update their brand style guide for all of their brands, and it just didn't feel right. So it was.
How'd that contract look?
It was juicy. It would have. It was very, very juicy. I don't want to share numbers, but it was 7 figures, and
a 7-figure contract for a look. And just to put it, I mean, it's not like we're not talking about a 500-person agency. We're talking about a boutique agency per se, right? That's a nice, juicy contract.
It was, but it didn't feel right, and just had to pass. And I don't regret that. Like the thing about it is, like the money would have been nice, but I want to help people become the best brand that they can and have positive impact. I think it's a duty of all businesses to do something good for the world, and I don't want to be attached to something that isn't that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't feel good about helping them increase their market share when they could be doing good too. So,
You passed on the 7-figure contract. The universe tests you. Do you really want to do purpose-led branding projects and rebrand projects? Here's the 7-figure contract. Say no. So you say no. Elevate. Do things start falling into place after that?
Yeah, not immediately. So you get the.
Oh, it doesn't work like that. I thought it was just like that. You break up with the wrong girlfriend. You break up with the wrong girlfriend or something, and then the perfect person pops in or something like that, right? you drop your job and then you get offered $5 million salary with the best job ever.
Instantly. That's
it.
Yeah. So,
but did it eventually start happening, essentially, where you started getting those ideal clients all of a sudden, yeah?
Well, I wouldn't say all of a sudden. It's happened at the pace that it needed to.
Not all of a sudden, sorry,
I needed to, with our team, work out our process, and I wrote a book that helped me crystallize that process. COVID, and that was good. We helped a lot of businesses with that one. COVID also gave us a bit of breathing space to revisit our methodology, and now it's even better. So, but things are going amazing now. Like we've grown the team by 2 people this last quarter, and we're hiring an account manager right now. So things are going well. Like I'm very happy. Yeah, and we're about culture fit. So it's not about scaling. We're not about we're not about the money. Like
totally.
But I want to clarify something there. I'm not saying no to money. I'm saying that's not our driver. Profit is not the driver. Profit is a driver, if you don't have profits, and this is one of the things that, like, we work with a lot of social enterprises, not-for-profits. We've got our Double the Goodness grant, which we dollar match up to 10 grand for impact businesses so they can have, the commercial help that they need. What I look for with that is how we can help these impact-driven businesses become more sustainable. And that's the balance of profit, because you need profits. The more profits you make, the more longevity you have as a brand, the more positive impact that you can make. So it's not a dirty word. It just needs to be taken in context with the other stakeholders, your people, the planet,
Yeah.
your product source. So yeah.
I wonder how many times I've said that last sentence that you just said. I continue to repeat that. It's so true. The more you can bring in, the more you can help. Absolutely. Look, what's the importance of brand story? How does brand story tie to brand purpose?
Okay. Yeah. So I've got a mantra that awesome's no longer enough. And what that means is you might have the most awesome product or service, the most awesome value for money, most awesome team, most awesome marketing, you name it, right? But somebody else opens up in your market that is also as awesome across those things, but they do something cool for the world that at no extra cost, that your clients love, your customers, your market loves. All of a sudden you're irrelevant. So, well, providing the cost to change is low enough, there's some, relationships and things, right? You can,
right.
But you're on shaky ground. So what we do is help businesses find that thing, that noble cause that is relevant for their business, for their market, so that they can be that disruptor brand. They can be that brand. I mean, I don't think it should be disruption. I think every business should do it. It's just about finding what it is that's right for your business. Now, story, the question about story is every brand's telling a story, right? It's getting interpreted by the marketplace, whether you are curating it and controlling it and masterfully doing that so that it is beautiful across every touch point, or you're leaving it totally up to the market to decipher based off what they experience or hear. And most brands do the latter, or many brands do the latter, and they wonder why there's this mishmash of things coming back to them, this misconception made about their brand. So it is about really defining that story and then telling it. And that takes work, it takes rehearsal, takes definition. So one of the things that is popping up is Seth Godin says this thing about brand story. It does one of two things for us when we buy the brand. One, it validates who we believe we are, or it helps us become who we want to be, who we believe we can be. So when you tell that story, right, and make it empowering and add that purpose, add that impact into it so that the listener goes, yeah, that's me, then the blinkers go on and they'll never leave you, right? Or that's who I want to become. Also, you can take them on that journey there and help them be who they want to be.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. That's showing that's, two sides of the coin there. It's this represents who I am, or this further helps me become who I want to become. That's really cool concept right there. And it's so true. And I think that, at least for me, from a personal standpoint, both are happening all the time as I'm making purchasing decisions. It's either I'm purchasing something because it represents me, or I'm purchasing something because I want it to represent me, or I want to become that as well. That's really interesting. And that's why the brand story tied to brand purpose is more and more important each and every day with brands today. So, yeah.
I'm just really reflecting on the brands that I've bought lately. It's like,
you start thinking about it.
Yeah, it's like, it's always contemplation. I was going to ask the question, think about which brands and why, what did it do? So, like I wear Patagonia. I don't like wearing the big sort of artwork on there that makes it look like I work it there. But I wear this because and it's got little subtle branding on the bottom of it. But I wear it because I know the brand and it validates that I give a shit and I'm conscious about my purchases. It's interesting, right? It's not about, but the other thing there is if you tell the story well and you make it juicy enough for the listener, it's the story they're going to tell. And that is the essence of brand story.
Yeah, I think, that's very true. And it's such a good example. Patagonia is a great example. They're probably the most well-known example in the world of a purpose-led brand that's that massive that can actually cause that much impact and represent something. I actually never really, I didn't really grow up really caring for Patagonia too much or liking it. I just didn't like the style, right? And now, because of what it stands, I actually think it's an awesome brand. And if it didn't stand for that, it wouldn't like it. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how that worked. And then obviously it happens, the opposite happens, where you grew up loving something and then you're like, oh, this stands for shit and this is not my jam anymore, you know? Really interesting. And then it also is important, it actually came to, I think I would say Tom's was the first, introductory brand for me. And, just kind of being the first well-known 1-for-1 model. And also they had the Argentinian flag as the logo, because that's where it started. And now I'm Argentinian. I kind of all just, it hit home for me. And then the difference, what I noticed was that after a while, they actually started making some really cool shit that I started really liking, not just the one model of shoe or whatever it may be. Right. And then more recently, I see Allbirds, doing that as well in the shoe game. But it definitely, and it is important, the product and the awesomeness of the product is super important, because you have a great story. But if your product's so, then look, it's just not going to happen. So you kind of need both now. That's what we've evolved. So let's transition into a little B Corp 101. I actually had someone on early on in the beginnings of Conscious Profits Unfiltered about B Corporations 101. But why don't you give me the elevator pitch of a certified B Corp?
I've got to do this justice now.
Hey guys, I just want to remind you, if you want to find more content like this, you can visit sebastiannaum.com. That's Sebastian, NAUM.com. You can also get a ton of other marketing resources from myself and my agencies, ranging from SEO to social media, influencer marketing, branding, web development, and more. Again, that's sebastiannaum.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the show.
B Corp is a certification. In the US, there's B Corporation, which is a legal form. In Australia, it's not. In some countries, it is. Essentially, it was created by these guys that had a basketball accessories or clothing company, shoe company called And1. And when they sold the business, the new owner, first thing they did was remove all the social goodness that this company had. So they had full basketball court in the office. They were giving like 5%, I think, of their profits to local initiatives to educate kids. All these benefits. So it was before its time, and it all got stripped away. And these guys were devastated. So they wanted to create this structure that enabled businesses to embed and protect the purpose of the organization. So they said about the legal form in the US, B Corporation. They said about these standards, which are B Corp certification. And you have to score a minimum of 80 points across 200, and that spans governance, customers, leadership, community, and something else, right? But it's all about sustainability and ethics, and it's hard to get certified. It is a rigorous process. So we're a B Corp. I'm certified as a B Corp. We recertified again last year. It's honestly, the process of doing the certification is valuable in itself. There's a free B impact assessment. You can Google B impact assessment, jump online and do it. I think there's been something like 45,000 companies do the impact assessment. There's nearly 4,000 certified B Corps around the world. And they're all doing something amazing through their business. And yeah, I'm a big fan. And so it is B Corp month this month, or March is. So my content every day has had some kind of B Corp element. So if you want to learn more about B Corp, jump onto Luke Sponge on Instagram and you can see the last month worth of content there. So I go into detail in it. But
highly recommend. I love the content. It's beautifully designed, beautifully put, really simple to understand. So definitely anyone listening, if you're interested in B Corp, check out Luke's Instagram for sure. And obviously it'll be in the links and the notes. And Luke, this is something that we touched on earlier in terms of, so you said the doc you watched was True Cost, right?
Yeah, the True Cost.
True Cost. So purpose-driven brands, certified B Corps typically have more costs, right? So the natural well, a lot of them do it. So the natural thing to think is, well, more costs means less profits, but that's not necessarily true. So how are brands making more money being a purpose-led brand, being certified B Corps? You know, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a good conversation actually. So there's a few ways. You look at cost for the organization. One of the major things, and there's a lot of studies out there at the moment, so I'm going to bastardize some of these, but they're one is about purpose. People want to choose, 9 out of 10 people want to choose a purpose-led brand to support them, to buy from them.
How many?
9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 people would, and I'll share the link with you of this study so you can see it. There's also loyalty. 8 out of 10 people are loyal to a brand that is purpose-led. And 7 out of 10 people would actually choose to buy from a purpose-led brand, even though they have, they're loyal to another brand that's not. Right. So if you think about that from an acquisition perspective, people want your business if you're purpose-led. People will stick with your business if you're purpose-led, and people will churn over to you if you're purpose-led and their existing brand isn't. Right? So, and they'll tell people about you. So there's that acquisition standpoint. But then if you look at top talent, right, you want a team that sticks with you and is completely fulfilled. If there is, B Corps have have a higher retention rate of top talent because people want to work. Like today, people want, and there's stats. I'm going to bastardize this, but you Google, I think it's like 63 or 70 something percent want to work with a brand that has meanings, and they'll stick around with that brand if it gives them meaning. The other thing is that, and this is the one I play at because I'm a values.
And by the way, turnover costs a lot. Big companies a lot of money. So that's talk about a cost reduction right there.
Exactly, and that's where I'm sticking on this one a little bit. So one is like the cost of hiring someone is ridiculous. Replacing someone, training someone, plus the disruption to business. That is like a massive problem for organizations. And also attracting top talent. Top talent want to work with brands that give them that meaning. The other thing is if you are a culture-driven brand, so you've got purpose, you've got values that your team align with, and you've got impact, what that does is it unlocks the creative and discretionary energy of your team. And what that means when your team is engaged, for a low-level role, the difference between an engaged team member and a disengaged team member is 300%. Right? So 3 times more productive. Right? For a mid-level role, it's 12 times, 1,200%. Right?
Get out of here.
Yeah, this one, like it gave me goosebumps when I read it. It's why I'm so passionate about this. It's why every branding project we start with, we've got this foundation where it's includes culture and impact. You do that, and then you embed it, and you hire for it, and your team is on fire. We've got this client that's gone from, they started with 25 people in their team. 5 of them were misaligned. I'm going to use that as a simple term. And that was creating subconscious sabotaging of the culture, right? So people don't realize, but when they're not a fit, they vocalize it, and it like demotivates everyone. We focused on the values, focused on the impact, built the rituals so that they could celebrate it each week. And this is what became the norm. Those 5 people self-selected out within a year. 5 people came in that were the right fit, the energy in this organization, it's absolutely freaking popping, right? It's palpable. I can feel it when I'm on a Zoom meeting with them. I can feel it when I'm with them. And they've gone from number 9 in their city to number 2, and they've opened another office in another city. So they are going absolutely nuts, and it's because it's like it's a tactile, real example of you get your culture right, you attract awesomeness, and they stick. So yeah,
That's awesome, dude. I was literally going to ask you if you to give me a concrete example, and that was an awesome example. So
yeah, it's why I love the work, right? Because people just need permission to be good at work. Gee, get rid of that. It's nothing personal. It's just business. Bullshit. Right? You want fulfillment at work?
Yeah.
Do something awesome with your business, and then it's not work anymore. It's like it's passion. And people want to join you. People want to buy from you. You tell the story well. They'll, like, you talk about Toms. I've got some in my cupboard. That's an example I use. I talk about the impact brands that I wear whenever I can, and that just is free advertising. Toms, their valuation, when was it, in 2015? 650 million or 615 million or something like that, US dollars, something with zero advertising. Right, that was all word of mouth, because people buy it and go, yeah, like, I've given somebody a pair of shoes by buying this brand, right? So yeah, it is lower cost marketing, it is customer loyalty, it is attracting and retaining top talent, and having real fulfillment at work. So yeah, that's the upside.
That's great, man. I mean, I think a lot of people think about just what's seen on the outside from a marketing perspective, or what they're just thinking about one stakeholder. They're thinking about what it may do to the customer, but what it does internally is huge. Yeah. It's beyond fulfillment. It actually is increasing the profits because of what you're just saying, because when they're engaged, the productivity goes up. Yeah. Man, that stat you threw at me was mind blowing.
It's
what was it, 1,200% you said for mid-level?
1,200% for a mid-level. High-level role, it's unmeasurable. It's off the charts. Yeah. So yeah, it's phenomenal. I know with my team, like so look, I believe that every team member has the potential to be a rock star, right? So that means getting on stage and cranking out a hit song, but that doesn't happen by accident, right? You can't just get up on the stage and bang out a hit song. You need to rehearse the shit out of it. You need to write the freaking song first, right? You need to write it, you need to refine it, and then you need to rehearse it as a band until everyone's in flow and it's natural. And that's brand story, right? Your impact brand story. You get that right, and when everyone is rocking it, everyone that comes into contact with the band in any aspect, you're going to experience that. So yeah, we rehearse the shit out of our song every week at our team meetings and through all of the decisions. It's about ritualizing it. So you need to do that. When you do it, there is an energy. There is a real electricity.
And all of that, I think, starts with motivation. And so if their purpose is there, that's the seed for the motivation.
Yeah, it is. There's some techniques that you need to do. Everyone needs to feel part of the decision, part of direction. So yeah, there's it's not as simple as they make it out to be, but it is definitely rewarding.
Yeah, that's great. Luke, you're an example of a conscious leader yourself, big time. So what do you believe are the two most important traits that a conscious leader must embody today?
That's a good question. So I've just been listening to Adam Grant's Think Again, and he talks about your appetite for being wrong and learning. I think you need to be unfixed, right? So open and have a humility. And the second is presence.
Hmm.
Yeah. Presence. And I say that, and it's making me think of an analogy. So you had this, we had this last year, March, the toilet paper fiasco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone sphincterally contracted and thought they had to clear the shelves. The same thing happened with marketing, right? You would have felt this too. So many people going, got to stop spending on our advertising.
Yep.
So that really shook us up as a company. And it made me, like, I spun a little bit. So I was like, there's a, who says it? Eckhart Tolle says it is, stress is living in the past and anxiety is living in the future, right? Whereas if you're present, you can then choose your state of consciousness, and solutions come out of creativity. And creativity is an above the line thing that you can have when you are curious and conscious. So I took a friend of mine to remind me that, and then I got into that creation state. And I hate this word because it's overused. Pivoted some workshops, changed the direction, made it about storytelling. For a lot of our focus about storytelling for self. So the founders we're working for that are also going through this, the most important person that they need to focus their story on is themselves, and tell that positive creation story versus like, holy shit, what are we going to do? Things are collapsing. So consciousness, being present. And yeah.
I haven't heard that one yet from anyone that I've had on, so I love when I hear a new one, and that's really important. Definitely what you said. I think about creativity and the ability to pivot, because you cannot do that if you are in the past or the future. You cannot do that. The only way to truly have a unique thought, which is what creativity depends on, is to be fully present. Otherwise, you're just taking from something else. So that's cool, which is probably the same reason I'm not a musician, but that's probably why, when a musician's creating music, he has to be in flow, fully present to actually be creating something new that's, coming out. So super interesting. So Luke, tell us about The Sponge and Good North, and where people can find you.
Yeah, so The Sponge is a branding agency. We choose to help the next generation of business owners to rebrand with purpose. We've got clients from Tasmania to Estonia. So it's our model works remotely. And I honestly love nothing more than talking with my tribe, which are people that are purposeful, purpose curious. That's a label that
Purpose
we
curious.
Purpose curious.
I have a board meeting tonight with Conscious Capitalism LA. I'm gonna totally bring that up.
Definitely. So the purpose curious came around because as a business, we can work one to many. We've got a workshop that we're developing at the moment that is like a one-to-many thing, and takes people through our methodology, which is cool. And I'm looking forward to working with leaders around the world on that one. But as an initiative, as part of our B Corpiness, our impact, I am kind of the local B local leader, and your audience might be familiar with B locals. B locals are communities of B Corps in cities. I know of a few in the US. Here we set it up as, like, I'm an advocate or a believer of what Jim Rohn says. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and if you want to be more awesome, you need to surround yourself with awesome people. And if you can't find a tribe of awesome people, then create it. So for me, it was like, I found that B Corp was a pre-qualifier for awesomeness, because anyone that goes through that process is a legend in my books. So we started Good North to gather the B Corps in this area together so we could connect and collaborate.
Nice.
And
that's cool.
What that ended up being is very, very small market. So we went, all right, we're not here just to like sell shoes to gold medalists, right? We need to bring people in that haven't run yet, right? So it's so this is the purpose curiousness, right? Bring people in, invite them, warmly welcome them. If they become B Corp certified, fine. If they're conscious capitalists, fine. If they're 1% for the planet, fine. I don't care the methodology. Just come be with those that are also feeling that, the high vibe people that are doing something cool in the world. So Good North is that, and we've got events online events, our speed networking events, and we've got an in-person event next week. So yeah, I love it. It's electric. So if
awesome.
you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram and I'm on LinkedIn as primary channels. So my name is fairly unique. So if you search that, you'll find me.
Luca Faccini.
Yeah.
You gotta go like this.
Yes.
I love that, Luke. Yeah, definitely. Anyone listening, check it out if you're purpose curious. Love that. That's really cool. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a homie. Put it on your story. Subscribe. Do something cool like that. Write a review. But anyways, thanks so much for being on, Luke. This was super cool. I loved it. And, I always learn new things. And this is like my jam. Like, purpose-led brands, conscious capitalism, like this is my thing. And just talking to you for, 40 minutes or so here, like I get re-inspired and refueled and I learn more about it. So thanks for being on, brother, and keep doing you, man.
Man, my pleasure. And I feel the same way. So thank you. Thank you for having me, and keep it up.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. It takes a lot to put these things together, but I truly love doing it. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, and you listen to it on audio podcast, please take some time to give it a review. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you watch the video, please go ahead and just click subscribe and share it with somebody that you think would like it. It would really mean the world to me, and it helps keep the show alive. Visit sebastiannaum.com for more content, and follow me on Instagram at sebnaum. That's SEBNAUM. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I know it is valuable. I hope you have a great rest of the day and week. Till next time.